But it is extraordinary. These demands are very, very clear. Two specific demands. End the search for new fossil fuels now. Well, Labour are pretty much giving in on that. And set up emergency citizens' assemblies to decide our future green policies. Extinction Rebellion have issued this ultimatum along with Greenpeace, War on Want and 200 other eco-organisations. They say if the government doesn't agree to their demands by 5 p.m. on Monday, they will face more protests. As it is, we've got some 30,000 people set to come to London from Friday to Sunday. That's Friday to Monday, sorry. That's including, of course, the London Marathon on Sunday for 4 days of protest, although one of their senior coordinators has told media this morning that they will not disrupt the London Marathon. I have to say, it would seem rather strange to disrupt people running. I mean, we're going to all end up just going everywhere by foot if Extinction Rebellion get their way, because we'll be back to the dark ages. We'll be lucky to get wheels in use still. But that is what they've been having to say. So I want to know what your thoughts are. We'll get to some more of your messages in the next half hour. Right now, let's talk to Dale Vince. He's the founder of Ecotricity Green Energy Group and joins us now. Good morning to you, Dale.
Morning, Julia.
Thank you so much for joining us once again. Long time no speak. Extinction Rebellion back in the news. You're a very big fan of eco-activism. Do you think it's okay and it's reasonable for Extinction Rebellion and other organisations to issue ultimatums to a democratically elected government?
Well, we don't have a democratically elected Prime Minister, do we?
Yeah, we do.
Do we? Did we vote for him? Did he stand in a general election?
So do you not understand our parliamentary democracy system? We've never had a prime minister. We don't have a directly elected president. We have a prime minister who is the leader of the largest party in the House of Commons, who are all elected by their local constituents. I mean, this is quite basic stuff.
Rishi Sunak has no mandate from the British people.
No, he is the leader of the Conservative Party, who have a mandate from the British people in December 2019.
They had a mandate under Boris Johnson. Since then, they gave us
mistrust. I didn't vote for Boris Johnson. I voted for my local MP.
Well, I don't think it matters who you voted for. The leader of the party and the head of the party in the public eye was Boris Johnson, and he won the 80-seat majority. He will tell you that, Julia. He claims that.
Boris Johnson will tell me a lot of things, won't he? But there we are. I think that's a fundamental misunderstanding of our democratic system. But let's move on for the sake of my audience, who are already huffing and puffing into their cornflakes. So you're saying we don't have a democratically elected government, so it's OK for a totally undemocratic organisation like Extinction Rebellion to make threats to them?
No, listen, I think it's OK for people to protest. I think millions of people in our country are at their wits' end with a government that has said good things on the climate crisis, set decent targets, but its policies are driving in the opposite direction. Drilling for oil and gas in the North Sea, opening a coal mine in Cumbria, expanding airports, and a massive road building programme are all pulling us in the wrong direction. And what else can people do?
What else people can do? Well, they can stand for election. They can campaign. They can do what other people do when they feel strongly about. I felt strongly about Brexit, so I helped campaign for that to come about via the ballot box, to get parties to commit to a referendum, and then to have the referendum and to hold it, and then to campaign to win it. That's how we change policy in a democratic country, rather than, say, sitting in the road, stopping people being able to drive. I know, ruining major sporting events, whether it's a snooker championship or a horse race. That's how we do things in a democratic country, isn't it?
Yeah, and we give an 80-seat majority to a party with 40% of the popular vote. That's our democracy.
OK, all right, so let's have a referendum on changing the voting system. That is something that other political parties are campaigning for. Join those campaigns, change the system, get a PR system, and then you can change things. But you can't just say, well, I don't like the government we've got, I don't like the system we've got, so I'm just going to bypass that, and I'm going to demand we have emergency citizens' assemblies that get to decide things. Who gets to decide who's on the assemblies?
All right. Look into history, and you'll find that quite often the state is on the wrong side. Look at the abolition of slavery. Look at the suffragettes and the protests that they pulled.
Sorry, the abolition of slavery was carried out by the British government.
Eventually, but the people that lobbied for it were on the wrong side of that for
and
quite
they lobbied. OK, people lobbied for it. They persuaded government, and then government did it. Ta-da!
OK, the suffragettes, did they persuade anybody, or did they protest and win their cause?
They didn't have a vote. That's why they had to...
No, they didn't have a vote, did they?
No, that's the whole point.
They fundamentally wrong.
Yeah.
We don't have a say now in how the government is run. We haven't had a say since the last election.
You have as much of a say as I have.
Three prime ministers, one election.
But there's a Green Party. There are plenty of other parties that are pushing green policy. I would say Extinction Rebellion has already won pretty much on account of pretty much every major political party is signed up to eco-madness that will send us back to the dark ages with a net zero by 2050 or sooner policy. I mean, what more do you want? You've already won.
2050 is too late.
It's too late, because is the planet going to die if we don't do it before 2050? Just clarifying how much hysteria I should be in before 9 o'clock, before 10 o'clock?
I think you have enough hysteria going on right now. Talking about banning the wheel. Talking about banning the wheel. I mean, come on.
I mean, if the wheel is run by a combustion engine, you don't want it to happen, do you? I mean,
you've heard of electric cars, right?
Yeah. How do you make electric cars?
In a factory.
In a factory. How do you run the factory?
Yeah. With renewable energy, ideally.
You do. Okay, and when the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, how do you do that?
We have batteries. We have batteries.
And battery power doesn't even last more than a few hours. We need it to last for months if necessary. How do you do that? And what do you make the batteries from?
So you're the expert on the grid, right? And the national grid, who run the grid, say that we can run on 100% renewable electricity, no problem. But you say we can't.
It's absolute nonsense. If they had battery backup, but you realise that the wind turbines that we use to get the wind power and that these solar panels we get to collect the solar power, they're all made in factories in China, run on energy produced from coal and gas, from fossil fuels. They're transported on huge big tankers run on oil. Then they get here. They involve incredibly rare metals which are dug up by children in Africa using fossil fuel powered machines. Wow. I mean, you do know that everything you're talking about is totally reliant on fossil fuels.
No, but you're talking rubbish, actually. Sorry to be rude, but you're talking rubbish.
Which bit of that was untrue?
I mean, China has way more renewable energy than we have, and they're building it at a way faster rate than we have. They have hundreds of thousands of electric buses on the road right now. You just don't look at the whole picture. And it's okay, all right? It's okay to use fossil fuels to bring a windmill to Britain, because when that windmill is built, it makes clean energy for 25 years. But we should be building them here. Yes, they do. I have one just down the road that is 28 years old this year. Now, listen, we should be building windmills in this country, but we're not. That's a failure of conservative policy.
Okay, you have to use quite a lot of quite rare materials and very energy intensive materials to make. Yes, you do. There's a huge cost of making these items. But quite apart from the fact that, if we don't use any coal at all, you can't make steel without coal.
That is not true either. They're making steel with hydrogen now in Europe.
Not on the scale that you could possibly need. The hydrogen is a great hope, but not many people in the energy business are completely convinced that it is going to be quite the great white hope. Many people are basically pinning everything on.
I'm not, but we can make steel with it, and we can fly planes with it. I don't think it's the answer to everything, but it is the answer to some things.
Well, we shall see if that happens. The question is, I'd love us to move to purely green fuels. That would be great. What's not to like about that? Question is whether we can do it in the time frame that the government is looking at, the United Nations and organisations like Extinction Rebellion and people like you are looking for. The reality is the rush in this is going way past our technological and economic ability. It's going to have huge costs at a time when people are really worried. Inflation's still over 10%. People worried about putting food on the table. People who basically sat in their coats all winter, too scared to put the heating on. And frankly, they are not worried about the things you're worried about. And if you did have a citizens' assembly, I think of those people, when they found out what the costs are of the policies that you want, bringing forward that net zero. I don't even want to reach the net zero, but reaching net zero before 2050 or even at 2050, I think the huge costs of that are not worth it. Those people wouldn't actually support that. Can
I explain something to you? The energy crisis of the last 2 years was a fossil fuel crisis. The global price of fossil fuels shot through the roof, including our own North Sea gas. We had to pay 10 times more for it. We spent, as a country, £100 billion during that crisis suppressing energy bills to make them more affordable. For half that sum of money, we can get to 100% green electricity on the grid. So the stupidity is to spend the money on fossil fuels and not invest now in renewable energy.
Electricity is 20% of our power needs. We need gas. That's 80% of our power needs, or other forms. We can't just rely on green energy for the electricity because we have to power other things that need gas.
I gave you, that's fine. I gave you, I don't think it's 20%, but I gave you an example in electricity. If you want to talk about gas, we can talk about gas. We are opening a plant in 1 month's time in Reading that will make enough gas for 4,000 homes, and it's made from
4,000 homes, brilliant.
We published a study that shows there's enough grass in Britain to make all of the gas that we need.
Dale, I wish all this was true, and I wish we could actually get there. And one day, in 50 years' time, maybe this will be. I have nothing but faith in human, in invention and ability to adapt and to come up with new ways of us. Look, we've gone through all the different other methods over the years, and we're on our third, industrial revolution. That we will come up with a technological innovation to improve all our lives and make the planet greener. It's just we haven't got it there right now. Why do you want to force us into that? Why do you want to force democratic governments and people who haven't voted for this? We've never been given a proper choice. If we had a referendum on this stuff, I know how the British people would vote.
Look, we have everything that we need. We have all of the technology. The economics are on our side. It's cheaper to use renewable energy than to use fossil fuels.
It's not.
And the people are increasingly on our side. The only thing we're missing, subsidies. Let's talk about subsidies. 3 billion subsidy to open a new oil field in the North Sea. That's madness.
That's a darn sight less than the subsidies for renewable fuels right now. Dale, we'll have to leave it there. I just want to find out, do you know what the threat is if, as we know, the government will not meet the Extinction Rebellion's demands at 5 o'clock on Monday? What are they going to do when the government doesn't meet those demands?
I have no idea. It'll be like Christmas. No,
did you say Merry Christmas?
It'll be like Christmas. It'll be a surprise. I mean, who knows? It doesn't worry me because we have to do something. This government are not listening. They're taking us to the edge of disaster. We have to do something.
All right.
Yes.
It's always good talking to you. I do worry, Delphins, really appreciate it, founder of Eco-Tricity. I do wonder, and I've said this about Greta Thunberg in tweets as well, to live your life genuinely believing the world's about to end and humanity is in crisis and the end of civilization, all these phrases we have trotted out all the time, to live your life thinking that, I mean, you may as well be a member of a doomsday religious cult for these things. Perfectly happy to have greener fuels and to look into how we're going to do that, and we will develop at some point because human ingenuity is so fantastic. It's all of these Malthusian predictions that we're all going to die, can't feed the planet, can't do anything. We always defeat those because human ability to overcome the natural world is extraordinary. But this urge to sort of race us to poverty, to turn back the Industrial Revolution, is a completely different thing. And I have a funny feeling that, again, some people are saying the quiet bit out loud, and it's not just about having cleaner fuels. It's about, frankly, having poorer, impoverished lives. But Dale Vince is convinced we're going to be able to do both. We shall see.